John F. Kennedy, Sarah Palin, Mitt Romney, Kirsten Gillibrand, Americans have a long history of electing good-looking leaders. Of course, not every successful candidate could be a stand-in for George Clooney or Angelina Jolie. Indeed, sometimes a less attractive candidate triumphs over a better-looking rival. So when and why do voters prefer more attractive politicians? Scientists had previously theorized that the general preference for attractive leaders was just another example of a halo effect. In other words, we attribute all kinds of positive characteristics to attractive people, and this tendency leads to more votes for politicians who look like Hollywood stars. But our work challenges this traditional view. As we argue in a new article in the journal Psychological Science, people's preferences for good-looking politicians may be linked to ancient adaptations for avoiding disease. In fact, the preference for attractive politicians seems to ebb and flow with voters' concerns about germs. How and why might disease be related to beauty at the ballot box? Past research has found that some of the features associated with beauty, smooth skin, shiny hair, body and facial symmetry, are actually indicators of health. Building on these findings, we hypothesized that voters' preferences for physically attractive politicians might reflect a desire for leaders who are free from disease. Our ancestors frequently confronted devastating epidemics that wiped out many of the members of their groups. At such times, having a healthy leader might have been particularly important. If this is right, then modern humans may have a vestigial tendency to prefer attractive leaders when disease threats are looming. It follows that preferences for attractive leaders may rise and fall with voters' concerns about disease. That is, people especially worried about germs should be especially likely to prefer physically attractive politicians. To test this hypothesis, we first examined the links between health statistics and voting patterns for winners and losers in the 2010 United States congressional elections. These analyses revealed that in congressional districts with a higher incidence of disease, more physically attractive candidates earned a significantly greater portion of the vote and were actually more likely to win at the ballot box. In fact, good-looking candidates were almost twice as likely to win in these districts. By contrast, in districts where people were generally healthier, being the better-looking candidate had no measurable effect on electoral outcomes. This finding suggests that the preference for good-looking leaders arises from a desire to avoid disease threats specifically, and is not a response to threats more generally. People who said they were concerned with disease were more likely to desire that a more attractive person take on the boss role, highlighting that the preference for attractive group leaders goes above and beyond the more general preferences for attractive group members. At first blush, you might not guess that typhoid fever, John F. Kennedy, and Sarah Palin had any connection with one another. But the link between disease and leader preferences aligns with other new findings, showing that disease concerns are connected in functional ways to a host of human decisions, from prejudice to religiosity. This work is part of a larger program of research exploring how human decision-making reflects the influence of our evolutionary past, and highlighting how little we understand our own supposedly reasoned decision-making.